The Toronto Raptors need to answer tons of questions this offseason about themselves. 3 core pieces that are unrestricted free agents, no head coach, and not a ton of wiggle room money-wise to build this team to be better. But the one massive silver lining is that they have a young Rookie of the Year with star upside in Scottie Barnes. His sophomore season didn't go the way most expected. He didn't make a staggering leap in terms of production, but as the saying goes, development isn't linear. This is a very important summer for Scottie, however, because usually high draft picks, especially high draft picks who win Rookie of the Year, take that next step towards stardom in their 3rd or 4th season. And if that happens, the Raptors will be sitting pretty. In fact, the Raptors are banking on that to happen sooner rather than later. So the question is, will it happen? Sometimes having an incredible, out-of-nowhere rookie season can be tough. It sets expectations so incredibly high that it's somewhat hard to find room for failure. Fans raise their expectations for what someone is as a player almost automatically, and if the player doesn't meet or exceed those expectations, well, it creates room for disappointment. Scottie wasn't expected to be a great player right out the gate. That was part of the allure of his rookie season. The fact that he looked so NBA ready in year 1 made him an even more tantalizing prospect. And that's fair. Scottie was awesome in his rookie year. Wearing multiple hats for a playoff team, he showed off an impressive touch around the basket, he was getting into a newly discovered mid-range game, and his playmaking was popping off the screen. But there were still a lot of areas in his game that had to grow. He was not a good defender, which is normal for a rookie. He needed more reps and practice playmaking and operating in a half-court setting, especially in the pick and roll. And his overall shooting ability needed a lot of work. On the surface, in year 2, he didn't take a leap. He didn't make that all-star jump people were expecting. His season averages were about the same as his rookie year. If anything, he had a less efficient second season because he wasn't as effective from the mid-range area as he was in year 1. And he tried expanding his pull-up shooting game, but to little success. And as the old adage goes, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. But let's try to contextualize year 2 for Scottie compared to year 1, before we start just giving up on the guy. First of all, the Raptors didn't have a ton of space for Scottie to operate this year. The Raptors shooters in Fred VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. both had down shooting seasons, which meant that as the season progressed, the amount of space that Scottie was allowed to work with shrunk. Don't get me wrong, teams still respected VanVleet and Trent's shot, but not as much as they did when VanVleet was shooting nearly 38% on almost 10 attempts a game last season. It also didn't help that the Raptors added Jakob Poeltl to the mix, a non-shooter who would clog up the paint and the middle of the floor where both Barnes and Pascal Siakam like to operate. It also doesn't help that teams respected Scottie even more. Instead of just being some rookie that was working tirelessly to carve out a role for himself, he was front and center on team scouting reports. They knew his tendencies. They knew what kind of defenders bothered him most. They had a season's worth of data to work off of, and that made Barnes' adjustment much harder. On top of that, Scottie was given more responsibility. His usage rate was bumped a percentage, and he averaged over 10 more touches per game compared to his rookie year, 3rd on the team only behind VanVleet and Siakam. Look, I'm not making excuses here for Scottie. A lot of young players have to deal with tough situations. They have to operate with lots of responsibilities, and some of them thrive almost immediately. But some of them don't. It's like humans. Some of us take a little bit to reach our full potential. And if anything, all of this is to help contextualize why Scottie didn't take the leap people were expecting. But he still showed flashes of brilliance and still dominated in some games for the Raptors this season. Games including a near 28-point triple-double against the Hawks in November, or back-to-back games where he had over 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists against the Kings and Nets in December. And if we look underneath the surface, if we peek under the hood, through all these scattered breakout performances in year 2, Scottie did get better in some of the areas he needed to. Defensively, he began to find his role as an elite off-ball roamer, a guy who can be your weak side rim protector, or who can use his length and passing lanes to pick off a pass. Like on this play where he reads Kobe White driving to the basket, gets over to block the shot, and then blocks the second attempt as well taking it coast to coast to find Siakam in transition. Or here, watch his activity off the ball. He is constantly making the right rotation, closing out properly, doing all the little things an elite defender would. At times he's been great as a low man, deterring shots at the rim and helping off of the weak side. But there's still tons of room to grow, tons of room to improve, especially on the perimeter on the ball, where he is often pressuring the ball too much and can't flip his hips quick enough to contain his man. This play right here might be a great example of it all. Scottie pressures the quicker Jordan Poole for no reason, Poole blows by him, but Barnes is long enough and smart enough to recover for the steal on the kickout. A great off-ball defender who has a ton of room to grow on the ball. It's very fixable stuff though. He just has to learn to use his length more on defense on the ball and not try to pressure the quicker, faster guards on every possession. But overall, the defense has improved, which is a great sign. Offensively, he also took steps in the right direction. He was given more opportunities as a pick and roll ball handler. He was tasked with being the team's primary point guard on some occasions, and it bared fruit. Scottie's overall assist percentage went from 14% in his rookie year to 20% in his second year. That number is comparable to some other secondary playmakers, like Jason Tatum, Donovan Mitchell, Alperen Sengun, Anthony Edwards, and even Kawhi Leonard. But unlike those guys, save for maybe Sengun, Scottie has a real chance to be a playmaking hub. He's a wizard when it comes to passing, and this season he was given an opportunity to explore that. As a post playmaker, he can attract attention and then use it to make beautiful passes like this cross-court pass. Or here, where he finds a cutter from a post position. In pseudo transition, he's a maestro, finding passing angles at an alarming rate. He can serve as a zone breaker in the middle of the floor, just like this. And what he's beginning to add to his playmaking game is pick and roll passing, like this nifty dime to Achua. He's also quick and decisive in the short roll, finding shooters on the weak side. The passing is very good. Scottie is already a fully functioning playmaker, and as his role grows, he'll be able to explore that even more. The real swing factor on offense, what will differentiate him from being just a playmaking hub, is scoring, and predominantly shooting. There aren't too many examples of guys who have succeeded in becoming stars without a good jumper. There's Giannis Antetokounmpo, early stages LeBron James, but he later developed into a good shooter. Jimmy Butler doesn't have the most outside potent shot until the playoffs. Same with Ja Morant, Domantas Sabonis, and even Zion Williamson when he's healthy. But there are other ways those players compensated for the missing jump shot, by either having an extremely effective mid-range game, which Scottie had in his rookie season, or by being a dominant rim and paint presence, which Scottie can be. Last year, Scottie shot 71% at the rim and 43% on all mid-range shots, good for ranking in the 81st and 64th percentile for his position, respectively, according to Cleaning the Glass. In year 2, those numbers dipped back down to 66% and 39%. But as I mentioned off the top, the on-court context didn't provide for much spacing for him to be effective in those areas. If Scottie can effectively get to a mid-range shot like this, he'll be tough to stop. His ability to square his shoulders on drives and take contact should bode well for his at-rim finishing as his body grows more. Or even like this. That way, at some point in his career, Scottie is going to be a free throw producing machine. Surround Scottie with shooters, good cutters, and good off-ball movers, and good perimeter defenders so that he can be at his best both defensively and offensively. As for the jump shot, that will continue to grow, although I really don't think it's necessary for him to become a star. He took more pull-up jumpers this season, and while his percentages decreased from 37% in his rookie year to 31%, attempting them is a part of the process. He became a slightly better catch-and-shoot player, shooting 31% on catch-and-shoot jumpers compared to 29% as a rookie. Still not anything substantial, but an improvement nonetheless. So while some may say that Scottie didn't improve in his second season, they'd be wrong. He became a much more well-rounded player, and he was eased into a larger role and allowed to figure out what he can and can't do. We oftentimes think of development as this straight line, but it's much more like a roller coaster ride, with ups and downs and ultimately, hopefully, a few leaps. Although that might be scary for a roller coaster. For Scottie, and for the Raptors, you can remain confident in his chances of becoming a star, because he already has all the tertiary skills required. He's a good playmaker, he's growing into a good defender, and he's very quickly become a smart decision maker. At the very least, that type of player will be an elite secondary star next to your offensive engine. And if things go really right, if he's figuring out how to score at a high level, then maybe someday he becomes the #1 option. The Raptors, with their core of Siakam, VanVleet, Anunoby, Poeltl, and Trent, are banking on Barnes becoming the bridge between two generations. The one that's ready to compete now in Siakam and VanVleet, and the other that is trying to develop as the undercurrent to it all. The Raptors are betting that Scottie is the player that takes them over the hump. And from what we've seen through 2 years already, there's a very good chance he does that. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button and make sure to check out our other NBA videos as well. Take care.